What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Jackwitz, and this is the Kaged Review, and this is the spoiler review for John Wick 3. So you think you can be John Wick? I love that line. Very, very fun movie. This is your basic machismo, adrenaline-filled action movie, and to that end, it just kills it. Absolutely kills it. I loved every minute of this movie. I already talked in the non-spoiler review about how I thought about the performances, which were overall very, very good. Keanu Reeves makes a very believable badass with his actual martial arts training, his actual gun training. He really set a standard, and he really brings an authenticity to this that I love. And he has fun with it, and that's a very important thing. You can tell that Keanu Reeves is having fun making these movies. That's important. This starts directly after John Wick 2, where he had killed somebody. There was a member of the high table of this Assassin's Guild, and it was supposed to be on neutral ground. Well, he killed somebody on neutral ground, so now he's excommunicado. The Assassin's Guild has now got a very big bounty for a bunch of assassins in New York City to try to take John Wick out. And the movie starts out right away with a lot of insanity. You start out in a library. He's looking for a book. He's got some stuff that he's collecting from this like carved out book. And this really big dude shows up, and there's a fight between these two in the library. Ultra violent, this is a very visceral movie. And it sells very, very well. It sells amazingly well. The first fight really kind of gets you into it, and then the next fight right after that is a bunch of guys going after John Wick in this like museum where there's a massive number of knives and stuff, and it turns into a crazy, crazy knife fight. And I remember, this was one part where I was talking about in my other review where everybody's just going, oh my God, just going crazy. And like, there was one point where it's like really slow motion, John Wick pushing a knife into somebody's eyeball. It was gruesome. It was definitely gruesome. But again, it sold very well. From the library fight, to the museum fight, to the stables fight. Now the stables fight was really cool because I talked about how they used the environment around John Wick in a lot of different ways. And this was one of those ways that was especially cool because you got a bunch of horses that are fighting around, and John Wick would like put a guy behind the horse and then smack the horse, and the horse would buck the dude. And I mean, it looked great. It really did. So, very, very cool, very fast paced. Big part of the movie that I didn't really talk about too much was the adjudicator, who was somebody sent from the Assassin's Guild to Winston, who was the head of this like hotel that was supposed to be neutral ground. And she's telling Winston that he has 7 days and before he gets killed. And she also goes to Lawrence Fishburne's character, the Borough King, gives him 7 days as well. And so you kind of have that side plot where she's trying to wrap up anybody that might have helped John Wick too. So John has something he's trying to do. Apparently there is this guy who is the head of all of this. He is the leader of leaders, and so John Wick is trying to find this guy. In order to do that, he's got to go through a bunch of hoops. He goes to his original Russian school, whatever it was, that he was a part of. They give him a ticket to, one place where he has to go to another place, to another place. But one of those places he goes and meets up with Halle Berry's character, Sophia, who owes him, apparently, because he saved her life. And Halle Berry in this movie, again, trained her ass off, you can tell, and it was legitimate. She looked like such a badass in this movie. And there was a lot of moments with these dogs that she had that were amazing, like truly brutal. And so they go up to this guy Barada, who is played by Jerome Flynn. Really cool part for him too, especially since he has a completely different accent here. And they find out where to find this head guy that ultimately John Wick is trying to find. And it doesn't quite go the way they expected, because Barada is, of course, trying to cash in on John Wick. He shoots one of Sophia's dogs, and that was the beginning of a huge gunfight with a lot of dog action in there. Very, very cool, like a very extended scene where Halle Berry just owned it, like really she did. So they find out what they need to do, which is this weird, really weird thing where John Wick has to walk through the desert until he can't walk anymore, and they're going to find him, is essentially how this works. So that's exactly what happens. They get past Barada's men. They go to the desert, and John Wick sees this guy who is supposedly the head of everything, and he actually has to sacrifice one of his fingers, cuts off one of his fingers, gives the guy the ring that was on it, and that's supposed to be a symbol that he's, playing ball again with the Assassin's Guild. So they lift the excommunicado. Here's where things get a little weird, though. Because John Wick fought like hell to get there to talk to that guy. He fought like hell to, get the excommunicado lifted. And so he's on his way to Winston, back at neutral ground. And he's being chased by Zero, who is played by Mark Dacascos, who is amazing. Just an amazing martial artist. So they get to Winston's place. He's supposed to kill Winston for the head guy. Winston talks to John Wick about how he wants to be remembered and, all of this. And it just changes John Wick's mind right there on the spot. And so it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me that John Wick just fought like hell to meet with this leader dude, get the excommunicado lifted so he can remember his wife, I guess, and goes to Winston, and then Winston convinces him that that's not really what he wants. It was a little iffy for me. That was the only really big problem I had with the movie. And then from there, they get a bunch of soldiers from the Assassin's Guild. They rush into this hotel that's supposed to be neutral ground, obviously not anymore. And the big fight ensues. The big fight with Mark Dacascos' character and his ninjas, and they all get taken out by John Wick, including Mark Dacascos, the Zero character. And I gotta say, Mark Dacascos had like the best line in the movie, because they're sitting there, he's got a sword in his abdomen, John Wick's right next to me, and he's like, "That was a really good fight." And just the delivery of the line like had everybody laugh. It really was great timing. So after that, clearly nothing has really been earned from any of this. Winston is given the opportunity to be accepted back into the Assassin's Guild. He shoots John Wick with a bunch of blanks. John Wick has a pretty nasty fall, but it doesn't kill him. Winston knew it wasn't going to kill him. And so now it sounds like there's going to be another chapter where it's going to be a war, maybe with Winston and his hotel and his people. Definitely the Bowery King, because that's who you see at the very end, and John Wick. And it leaves off with people bringing John Wick to the Bowery King, Lawrence Fishburne. And he's like, "I'm pretty pissed off." And he has this nice little speech about it. And he's like, "How about you?" And then John Wick's like, "Yeah." And that's kind of where they cut it off. Very good movie, though. The action is nonstop, beginning to end, like 2.5 hours worth. And it was just amazing. I liked the story. I did feel like it had a couple of weak parts to it, if I'm being honest. The big, mind change from John Wick is the most prominent one. But an amazing movie. Enjoyed the hell out of myself. Like, really, this movie did exactly what you wanted it to. and it made you cringe. It made you go, oh my God. And that's what we were here for. I give it a 9 out of 10. That sticks. I still believe it's a 9 out of 10. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackwitz. Kaged Nation, out.